I would like to start with a land acknowledgement. As part of my eco-philosophy is to recognize and acknowledge that the land that I work, live, and play on is actually the traditional and unceded territory of the Okanagan Silex people. Throughout this presentation, I'll talk about my relationship with the environment and its non-human components, as well as the influences and people and experiences that have impacted me and helped me develop my current eco-philosophy. My relationship with the environment is based on respect, specifically respect for life, as I've mentioned in many of my posts. And this respect grew from a sense of awe when I was a child. I grew up so lucky to have massive, vast open spaces that really sparked my curiosity and wonder. And as Price et al. Mentioned in their paper, this vast awe really primes the brain for learning. And I am no exception here, that my curiosity and wonder was really sparked by this massive sense of awe of being out in the environment and open, and it really fostered my relationship with the environment. I also want to recognize how fortunate and grateful I am to have access and the availability of this natural, beautiful open space right outside my doorsteps. As Quinn et al. Mentioned in their paper, many people don't have access to it through poverty or inequity, and that I am so fortunate to have this space. My relationship and respect for the non-human components of our environment grew out of my understanding of the interconnectedness of everything. My understanding that everything we are as humans are as interwoven and interconnected with everything else out in their environment, both living and non-living. And then there's a reciprocity between the two, where humans and living organisms can impact the non-human components and vice versa. And I wanted to highlight specifically an example of water, and that water is required to sustain all forms of life, yet as a non-living component, and it can shape and mold and change the environment. And as I was making this presentation, I realized that all of my photos have water in some form in all of them. And it really speaks to how important water is as a resource and how influential it is in all aspects, both living and non-living in our environment. I wanted to highlight water in these two photos specifically. The first picture is of Laughing Falls, and it's taken in the Rocky Mountains, and it just shows the power of the water coming down. And again, it led to that sense of vastness and awe for myself. And then the second is of Emerald Glacier, again, up in the Rockies, and that same sense of awe as this massive glacier. It has molded and changed the environment right in front of us. The three influences that have helped develop and shape my eco-philosophy are my parents and experiences throughout my life, as well as my children. And I want to tie this back to Palmer's 3D model of EE. You can see up in the corner there that it's shaped like a tree, which not only is really amazing and it ties so tightly to the environment, but it really shows how the roots and the base of the tree are the formative influences, and then it grows and develops into somebody's personal definition of EE. And for me, my formative influences have come from my parents. They took us out camping all the time, out into the environment and hiking and playing in our backyard in the little mini forest we kind of had right beside our property. And it's through those experiences, my relationship with nature, that I've developed a real love of the environment. And then further on in my life, I was able to go camping as like a teen into my adult years. I was able to go to Jerry's Rangers camps that I mentioned before in some of my posts, go to Bamfield and experience the marine ecosystem and being out on the coast, as well as a lot of my university courses. So those other experiences in my life helped develop my not only love for the environment, but I was also in and about and learning about the environment as well. This has then intensified my desire to get my children out in nature and to give them the opportunity to develop their formative influences from the environment. It has really intensified my need to get my children out into the environment. Further, you can see in these pictures my kids and my nieces out exploring our local environment in all of the different seasons. And you can see, again, tying back to water here, that it's in all of the pictures. This really exemplifies my intensified need to preserve the environment. Having my kids experience the environment and experience nature has really heightened my eco-philosophy and really pushed my not only naturalist roots, but my bioregionalist current, that I really want my kids to explore our local home and all the different aspects of our environment in all of its different seasons. To build on that, I wanted to show these pictures in there of my kids and my nieces again, this time out in Tofino. This is a family trip we just went on last summer. And it really highlighted for me that untutored savage that Sobel was talking about in his paper. And my children and my nieces were out just exploring and really getting to know our new environment out in Tofino, and they were digging in the sand and building castles and building forts and just feeling the texture of the sand and really just having free play to explore. And these created such powerful memories for these kids, and I really, really want to provide that opportunity as many times as I can, because this is how the love of nature really starts, and it's going to promote and to help my own kids and nieces to develop their sense of the environment and to grow and to love and want to protect it, and to do all the conservation and preservation that we can for our local environments. This quote by Louvre, that no one among us wants to be a member of the last generation to pass on to his children the joy of playing outside in nature. This quote, combined with local Silix teaching that we are borrowing our current home from our future generations. That idea that our home, our environment and our ecosystem right now is actually not ours. It's our children, it's our grandchildren's, and we need to conserve it and preserve it and save it for them and keep it in the best shape possible. These two ideas kind of combined to help me develop my own eco-philosophy. My current eco-philosophy can be kind of summarized as the environment is home to all organisms on the planet. Our home is not just ours, it is one that we share with all living organisms and is the home for future generations for all living organisms. And all aspects of the environment feel our human impacts and reciprocate their changes onto us. We are an interwoven thread in the environmental tapestry, so any changes we impart on the environment reflect back onto us and are felt through the entire ecosystem. So understanding our local ecosystem and our impacts on it will inform us so we can act more appropriately and more responsibly to preserve the home for our future generations. Here are all the references of all the articles and papers that were referred to throughout this presentation. Thanks for listening.